They 100% absolutely would like you to sell your Bitcoin because I think they want to buy back in a little bit lower. It's fascinating what's going on currently. Such a huge bearish sentiment is going on, and I cannot find a single bearish thing. Now, I saw a video today of Luke Groman, which most of his opinion that I see, I didn't never watch the full podcast of his, but most of the small clips that I saw from him, I really respect this guy. And so I was like, okay, now he sells all his Bitcoin. I mean, I think he half position or something like that. He massively reduced it. And I found it really interesting what he brought up as arguments. And I kind of want to dive into that, but also into way more. Like the Luke Groman for me is just like one guy that does that. There are many others that actually are talking bad about Bitcoin. They're like now having a very bearish sentiment. And for me, it's very clear, like there are people that are bearish on Bitcoin for whatever reason, for whatever intentions they have. But it's always, I'm fascinating how people always sell at the bad time, how they always time the sell very badly. I mean, we are now 30% down from the all-time high, and now they want to sell not at like 120k. And Luke Groman actually says that. I was like, oh yeah, like at 120k, like I was thinking everything is fine, and now at like what is it, 87k, now everything is going to bust. Interesting analogy. I actually looked into some theories around loss aversion and some interesting stuff why people actually have this. I want to sell before and I want to cut my losses before I lose more. There's a lot of psychology going on, and I want to get into this all of this today, which I'm super psyched about. Yeah, hello, by the way, good morning and everything. What's going on? I think I did not say it today. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to each and every one of you. Let's see some reaction of the community. Always Huddle from MSBitETH1164. Guten Morgen, good morning from Kevin Opa. Mike Malone, 10k Bitcoin. Who's Mike Malone? Did he say that we're going to 10k Bitcoin? Interesting. We have here, what do you think? 60k, 40k? Honestly, like we could go down. Like obviously, like we could easily go down to like 50k, 40k, because we have gone down from 2021 from what is it, 70k to what was it, 15k. So now going down to let's say 50k wouldn't be unheard of. It would be quite normal actually in Bitcoin. I don't think so, and I can tell you the reasons why in today's podcast episode, in today's live stream episode. But in the end of the day, if you just hodl and if you think long term about Bitcoin, who cares? Like if it goes down further, you get more satoshis for each dollar, and if it goes up, hey, you're like richer. So it's always this meme of like, no matter if it goes down or up, it's always great. Obviously, that's wrong, but in a sense, it actually comes down to that. If you have a long time horizon, if your time horizon is next Tuesday, yeah, like you could be concerned. Now, hi, Sandy. Hi. Luke Groman sells, Sailor keeps buying, conviction. Yeah, 100%. People that are convicted, they are keep buying, and the other ones, they will be selling. Now we have here, what's up, Robin, checking in from New York. Awesome. New York, what's the time there? 11 a.m., something like that. I would guess 11:05. Then we have what is happening in Bitcoin is pretty much the same thing. Oh, one class is here. What is happening in Bitcoin is pretty much the same thing that has happened to every other asset that entered the mainstream. Noobs come in, buy, get scared at the first sign of trouble and sell. Yeah, 100%. I love your opinion, man. Yeah, like the people, and I explained it. Like I will show you some charts actually to that, why this is and why there's like the psychology of that also. Because people buy into stuff that they don't understand. And if you don't understand Bitcoin and you go down 30%, you're selling. Like you're not a buyer at that point, because your conviction of Bitcoin depends on the Bitcoin price. And if your conviction on the of Bitcoin depends on the current Bitcoin price, you don't really have any conviction, have you? So that's freaking awesome. Don't get rocked to sleep. I don't understand what that means, but I will just let it here. They're really cool. We have today, just to get started with the live stream and just get started with what we actually have today. We have today a block height of 928142. We are coming very close to the 1 millionth block. This will be a massive, massive thing if we hit the 1 millionth block. But now we see Bitcoin at an exchange rate of an 87,813 US dollar, which means for just $1 US, you are getting 1,139 Satoshis. I remember that not that long ago, you only got like 700 or 800 or maybe even like 600 Satoshis for the same thing. We can actually go back time. I think we can actually go back in time here. Let's search by date. What was it? 2025, when did we have the all-time high? Do you guys know that when we had the all-time high, Bitcoin US dollar, we had the all-time high, I would say the 7th of October. Apparently we have it on the 7th of October. Let's go and see that. On the 7th of October, at the all-time high, you only got 814 sats per your US dollar that you put into the network. Now you're getting a lot more Satoshis for the same dollars. So if you're just getting a salary in dollars, you are now getting a lot more compensation for the same dollar that you put in. Just a thing to think about. But now let's go back to today and let's listen in. First thing, I think we should first see the actual Bitcoin price. Let's see what we are talking about, because we can talk about we can talk about everything, but honestly we have to first see what's actually happening. Let's first see what's going on year to date. Year to date, this year has been literally nothing. Like we are down -6%, sometimes +1%. Year to date, we are basically zeroing out. It has gone down, it has gone up, it has gone down, it has gone up, all of that. So it's not really doing anything. So when we look at the past year, we are a little bit down more, and then it's getting interesting because we are with the 5 years, and if you're zooming out more and more, it makes more sense. So obviously, as always, when in doubt in Bitcoin, you have to zoom out. And this is something I keep on repeating. You and I actually haven't even gotten 2 cycles. I always say, if you want to be in Bitcoin, you should be in Bitcoin for 2 straight cycles. If you're not into Bitcoin for at least 2 cycles, you aren't really into Bitcoin. Like if your time horizon is less than the 8 years, the 2 cycles that Bitcoin has, you shouldn't even be in Bitcoin in the first place, because then you are a trader, a guy that tries to time the market, and not someone that is really convicted of Bitcoin. We all know what Bitcoin will do in the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years. And so we have to act like that. We have to look at our time horizon over the next 10, 20, 30 years, and not about like, oh, like next month, what is Bitcoin going to do? Now, Chuck said, like, don't let consolidation make you lose focus, keep stacking. That's what it means. Very true. Then 100% don't get rocked to sleep. Very, very true at this point. So now we are getting to this video that I found hilarious, and I already featured Luke Groman multiple times positively on the channel, and I don't have anything against him. I think he has really great opinions around Bitcoin most of the times that I listen to him. But I found this really interesting, and I wanted to just look into the things that he is kind of talking about, and if his concerns are real, and what the data actually is showing. Now, let's just listen to the video and see what he's actually saying here.
I'm saying very serious people raising the potential that it could be an issue within 2 to 9 years.
He is talking here about the potential of quantum computing. Now, I have to say that, and he's also saying that. I am not an expert on quantum computing by any stretch of the imagination. I do have a computers degree, a software engineering degree. I actually worked in a company for 3 straight years as a software engineer. This does not make me an expert in quantum computing at all. And anyone who says like they're working for 3 years as a software engineer and then saying, oh, I'm an expert in that field, they're just lying. I will preface with that. But I talked with people like Hunter Beast and many others that are really respect in the space around quantum computing. And they do say this is a threat. This is not something to take completely lightly. But there's a lot of buts in there. The first one is it's not coming soon. He's talking about 5+ years. Now, he says 2 to 9 years. It's a quite big span. It's basically a 10-year span that he's like, oh, like 2 to 9 years. I don't think it's any worry within the next 5 years. It could be worry in the next like 10 years. I do think so, but not in the next 5 years. It's not that going that quick. And then also something that people keep on missing at that debate of quantum computing is there are so many other targets that are bigger than Bitcoin and easier to crack than Bitcoin, which is, if you think about it, like why if you have a quantum computing and you can crack everything on planet Earth, why would you go ahead and crack something like Bitcoin, which is way harder to crack than like bank accounts? Like bank accounts get opened every single day. I know probably like 4 people their bank accounts got hacked some way or another. I don't know a single person which lost its Bitcoin because it got hacked or someone got in the way. All of the people that I know that lost their Bitcoin because they handed over the private key to someone, and at that point it is like it's not a real fault to Bitcoin. It's just a fault of people doing that. Now, let's continue with that.
And the quantum stuff is way over my head. It's way over my pay grade. I try to read it and I feel like the dumbest person alive. And I am not in a position to sit here and have any debate with someone. Is quantum, is it a risk? Is it not? What I am in a position to discuss is I've been in markets 30 years and I'm watching the way Bitcoin is not making a new high against gold. I'm watching.
This is an interesting one. I was curious about that actually. Like, is that true? Did Bitcoin not make a new all-time high against gold? So I went ahead and just pulled that up. Here it is. We have here the Bitcoin price in gold, in ounces of gold, and now obviously it starts very low. Oh, like here now we have it. We have here now a price of 1, then 8, then 7. So the Bitcoin price keeps on rising, measured in gold. But now, like, okay, is it fair to say that we didn't reach a new all-time high of gold in ounces of Bitcoin and new ounce of gold in ounces? We have here on what was it, 25 in January. Oh no, actually December 2024 we reached 38, which was a new all-time high not that long ago, because we reached here maybe 34. So this is actually new all-time high that we reached beginning this year, ending last year. And now we even just a couple of months ago in July, we reached 35, not that far away from the all-time high of Bitcoin priced in gold. And he later goes on and says, I don't look at short term. And I'm like, okay, if you don't look at short term, we reached a new all-time high a year ago, and now like a couple of months ago, almost like very close to it, which I'm like, okay, like just a couple of points. So I don't know what this should tell you, if Bitcoin is not completely destroying gold like it had in the past. And it's also like a very short term, like I don't know what you should like get out of that, just because like it didn't happen in a massive way. And also I think he goes on and says he believes in the 4-year cycle. but then at the same time, the 4-year cycle with this year is kind of dead. So if you believe in the 4-year cycle, you would believe that in the next 2 weeks, Bitcoin absolutely rips. Because as I showed you guys, when you look back at what's actually going on year to date, and the 4-year cycle says this year we are going to rip, this year will be an up year. If this is true, this year has to be an up year. So the next couple of days and weeks, like the next 2 weeks, basically, we have to completely rip and we have to go up. Otherwise, the 4-year cycle is already dead. And if the third year that should go up in the Bitcoin history does not go up, does that mean that the 4th year goes up then, or does go further down even? Like, I don't know. But it's just interesting how he says, like, okay, gold does not make all-time high. That's why it's just like, it did not make sense for me. Also, I feel like it's just not true, because Bitcoin made a new all-time high just a year ago, and he says himself he looks at the long-term things and not at the short-term things. Now, let's keep on watching.
What Tether's doing. I'm watching what these people I respect in the space are saying, and I'm saying, markets are telling me that's serious. And oh, by the way, the OG whales, most selling in a cycle ever. Oh, really?
This I was also curious about. Okay, OG whales are selling more than ever. Now, I don't know exactly what he means by that, because in terms of, if you think about, is someone selling or not? So like, you have to really look at the data. So there's different kind of data that you could look into when you kind of say, hey, when you think about, hey, is Bitcoin being sold by a lot of OG whales? You can look at the hodl waves, maybe 5 years plus is maybe a good time frame. You can look at the exchange inflows. You can look at whale alerts. You can look at many different charts and statistics. So I don't know 100% what metric he's really looking at, because there's not a single chart that says OG whales are selling. So I have no clue like what he really talks about. But I thought, like, let's just look at some of the charts ourselves and see what he might think. Now, this chart right here shows us the 5-year plus hodl wave. What does hodl wave mean? It means all the coins that are that are older than 5 years and haven't moved in 5 years. And so what is the percentage of them of the total supply? What of the total supply of all the Bitcoin that are currently out there? What of the percentage has not been moved since more than 5 years? And now you can see here, just to make it easier, I will get the Bitcoin price out of the way. Now you can see here, we basically, since 2014, obviously it starts in 2014 because before Bitcoin wasn't that old. Since then, it went up and up and up and up. So now we had in 2016 around 14%. We had here in 2020 the hodl wave of 21%. Now we had an all-time high of the hodl waves of 31% in January 2024. Now, yes, we have gone down a little bit, but here the all-time high of the hodl wave 5+ year was 31.6%, and now we are at 30.9%, and I'm like, it's not that far off. It's like, what data does he look at saying that Bitcoin whales are massively selling and everyone is kind of capitulating, and like we have massive sell-offs from Bitcoin OG whales? Like, I would say if you hold a Bitcoin for 5+ years, I don't know if you're OG, but I would say at least you are kind of an OG. So like you're beginning to start to be an OG because the whole thing is just 16 years old. So you held Bitcoin for like 1/3 of the time. I think we can now also look at here the 10+ year hodl wave, which gives us an even more interesting viewpoint, because maybe you say, hey, 5+ year, I don't know if this is already a OG. I don't know if 5+ years is an OG, but let's look at the 10+ years of the hodl waves. Let's just, because I think it's distracting, let's get the price out of the way. Now, obviously, the Bitcoin 10+ hodl wave can only start in here 2018 at the end. And so we have now in 2020, we got like 5%. We got in 2022, we got like 12%. We got a really sharp rise here in 2024, where we had an all-time high of like 17-18% probably. And now we had 17.36%, and now we are 17.13%. So, which shows me, honestly, that the OG whales that they're holding Bitcoin for a very long time are obviously not selling. Like, they are obviously holding on. If you see that, I cannot come to any other conclusion that like OG whales are hodling, because people that have Bitcoin since 10+ years are not moving them, and the Bitcoin that haven't moved since 10+ years are only increasing and not decreasing. So I don't know where people get this thing where OG whales are selling. And if you guys have any idea what metric he might have looked at, or what kind of I could look at to see like, okay, OG whales are actually selling, I'm happy to see it. I just couldn't find it. He did not really specified. Now, there is one chart that I was looking at, was seeing like, okay, maybe he's looking at that one. This is the Bitcoin long-term hodler supply. Now, again, here, long-term hodler supply basically shows us, just to quickly explain that, I had James Jack and Matt on my show. They are like really experts in that sphere, and I learned from that. So all the information that I have is basically from James Jack and Matt from Bitcoin Magazine Pro. And what I understood from their explanations is, if you have a massive rise in price, long-term hodlers are selling into that. And if you have a massive decrease in price, long-term hodlers are actually stacking up in that. So long-term hodlers are kind of going against the Bitcoin price. And now we can look at that in that chart. If you see here, for example, when the Bitcoin price here in black went down, Bitcoin's long-term hodler supply went up. And so like it has this kind of thing where the long-term hodler supply goes down, Bitcoin price goes up. Bitcoin price goes down, long-term hodler supply goes up, like all the way here. And so it has this kind of dynamic. If the price goes down, Bitcoin long-term hodlers are stacking more. If the price goes up, Bitcoin long-term hodlers are stacking less. Makes kind of sense. And so I don't know if you see anything very concerning here, because we had the price going up a little bit, now down a little bit, and here we, yes, had some selling. Maybe the long-term hodler supply is going down a little bit and changing in the medium or short-term hodler supply. This is, for me, yes, maybe he was looking at that and was like, okay, maybe this is a part where you can make a small argument that OG whales are selling, but it's for me a stretch, because if you see also the general trend of where we are like way higher than we were in 2020, way higher than in 2021, way higher than here in 2022. So it's like, okay, 2022 was a little bit higher than that. So it's like, is that really the argument of like, okay, OG whales are selling? Just something to consider. For me, OG whales are still hodling. And for me, the people that are selling, and I will come to that later, for me, the people that are selling actually the short-term hodlers, the ones that don't understand Bitcoin, the ones that maybe bought at 120K, the ones that said like, oh no, like I don't like that Bitcoin stuff, like I'm selling, I'm going somewhere else. Those are, I think, more likely to be the ones that are actually selling, the ones with no conviction. And now let's go back to the video to see what else he's saying in there. Let's check. Yeah, here we are.
Really? Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's nothing. Now, Intuitively, if I was worth 50, 100, 200, 300 million dollars, $1 billion in Bitcoin, it's probably mostly in Bitcoin. I've held it for 15 years, 10 years. I would probably be very tied in that world. And I wouldn't sell unless there was some sort of I would start to take some off the table if I thought quantum was a risk I wanted to at least hedge somewhat. And so when I see this whale selling, I can't help but think, maybe there's something there.
What whale selling? I don't know what he sees. I would love to. I would love to get the insights and like what chart he's looking at, what number he's looking at, because I just don't see it.
Given the price action I'm seeing when you're looking at gold versus Bitcoin not setting a new high against gold for the first time in its life, when I see it breaking down on various momentum bases relative to the dollar on long-term charts, like I don't really look at the.
Okay, he says it breaks down on a momentum base on a long-term chart. Yes, okay, we are only up by more than 3x in the last 5 years. That's really bad. we like all the arguments that he kind of makes is like price-based. I don't really get it. And I really respect him actually. Like I saw a lot of his clips and I was like, oh, that's a really great guy actually. But like with this one, like he kind of disappointed me.
The chart, like for me, I just want to see the long-term technicals, and the long-term technicals were really breaking down about 3-4 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. And so that's really where I just say, you know what, I fully concede I might be being too cute by half. And these technicals, when they broke each of the last 3 times, as emphatically as they just broke about 4 weeks ago, the median decline in Bitcoin was 65-70% each time. And there have only been 3 triggers in 14 years. And there have been no false triggers. So for me, it's, you know what, especially given the size that it had grown to in my portfolio, it was a champagne problem, knock on wood. I got something right for a change, but to me, it spoke to a need to right size it and substantially reduce positions because I just think it's going a lot lower. And I guess lastly, to tie back, why is
this is I see this so many times, and like I push back against that very heavily because like obviously he's well off financially. Like I don't need to convince him to like not sell his Bitcoin because like he's well off anyways. But there are people sitting that listen to him and say like, oh wow, he's selling now, I guess I also have to sell. And they will never have the same amount of Bitcoin ever again. They will never get back. They might are lucky to get back at those levels, maybe, but like timing the market goes wrong for 99% of the people. Like I tried it. Like I suck at that. The best thing I can do is buy Bitcoin as much as possible and then get my income game up as much as possible. And then just like all the proceeds that I still have left, like just put that in the Bitcoin. That's the only strategy that worked for me. And I don't think that there are a lot of great traders out there that time the market amazingly. So like, I just don't think that is the case. Otherwise, we would have on the richest person list a lot more traders and less entrepreneurs and less real estate people and less like people that build some wealth over the time. So now we got some comments. I just want to briefly take a break for the comments, seeing what's going on. Curious Bitcoin, do you think Spaces protocol can help increase Bitcoin adoption by making Bitcoin easier to use? I remember you had the founder on the show, Mike Carson. Yes, I remember Mike Carson. I had him on probably half a year ago. I haven't researched the Spaces protocol since then. I found it interesting because I think decentralizing the domains that are there, so like the domain network, is something probably that is good, that we need. But at the same time, I'm not sure if it ever will be something that is widespread and people actually accept, because you need to have the widespread acceptance to that. So I really am not an expert on that protocol, and I just stick to Bitcoin only. And I could imagine that decentralizing domain names could be a good idea. I just don't think it will be adopted at all. Like in an ideal world, everything is decentralized. In an ideal world, there's no central party that ever has anything on anything that is like, oh yeah, like we have control over that, we have control over that, we have control over that. That's an ideal world, but I don't think this will be happening. I think our best shot is decentralize the money with Bitcoin, and everything else hopefully gets better because money is decentralized. Just my 2 cents, but also I'm not really educated on what the Spaces protocol really is. Might just be really bad or really good. My only education is that 1-2 hours I had with the founder, and a little bit before and a little bit after research. Now people should sell it so it can so I can get it at a cheaper price. Yes, I think that's a valid argument. Like, people should definitely sell it because of that. One class, thank you so much. Really liking this format, by the way. 10, I think this is Swiss dollars, right? That's amazing. Thank you so much, one class, for the 10 Schweizer Franken. Luke is awesome, but sometimes TradFi formulas and concepts aren't sufficient when doing research and analysis on Bitcoin. That's actually a really good way to look at it, JFig, if I say it correctly, your username. Because I think he is a brilliant guy. Like, I watched some of his stuff, and I really liked his analysis on multiple occasions. I just think that the things that he's now looking from a TradFi lenses on Bitcoin might just not be the right angle to look at it. Now, Bitcoin market cap isn't growing against a stable backdrop. Most people forget US dollar is free and unlimited. I mean, like, what time frame? Like, Bitcoin market cap is growing rapidly over the last 5 years against the US dollar because Bitcoin market cap actually grows faster than the price. So if the price is up 250% the last 5 years, the Bitcoin market cap is up actually more than the 250% because there's like more Bitcoin added, and so the price times the supply is like actually bigger and grows then faster. So if we had like the same price of 90K at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year, the market capitalization is still bigger than at the beginning of the year because there are a little bit more Bitcoin, not substantially more, but like a little bit more. So I'm not sure, like, maybe I misunderstand the comment. Now back to the video. Let's see what Luke also has to say in the back half of this video.
Functioning, I've called it the last functioning smoke alarm for 5, 6, 7 years. Look, it's telling us the first half of next year is going to be ugly, right? Let's make no mistakes. Bitcoin, if this Bitcoin sell-off is not just 100% tech and quantum computing related, and forget about tech, because tech's liquidity too. If this isn't just a Bitcoin specific quantum computing sell-off, and I don't think it is,
I agree with him here 100%. I don't think people are selling because of a quantum computing risk, like, not at all. I mean, maybe definitely some are selling because of that, because there are always some, but like, I would be very surprised that everyone that is selling right now is selling because there's quantum computing risk, because the risk has been there forever, and we have now actually a lot of great solutions for that. I mentioned Hunt the Beast already.
Then what Bitcoin's telling us is, so we go back to that BC and AD of 2026. Yikes. There's a lot of, basically everything but gold and the dollar are likely to get waylaid until we get to year zero, is what Bitcoin's saying.
And on what time horizon are you bearish Bitcoin? 1 month, 3 month, or is this a multi-year negative view you have?
Probably a function of more price than time, but there's probably price and time. In other words, look, if I woke up and Bitcoin is 40,000 and a little bit of time has passed and there's revulsion and any number of technical indices, one of the nice things about having the size following I do on X is it's a very useful indicator of sentiment.
I do not think, and I really strongly disagree here, that X is any indicator for sentiment whatsoever. Because most Bitcoiners, so like when we think about this, the bubble that we are in, the people that are listening to podcasts, listening to live streams, are kind of exchanging thoughts in the Bitcoin ecosystem, the people that go maybe even like to conferences and meetups and are on podcasts and all of that, those people are not representative at all, like at all, of the general population. Most Bitcoiners do not have an X account. Most Bitcoiners never leave any comments in any YouTube video, in any Twitter video. Most Bitcoiners, you have no clue who they are. The majority of Bitcoiners have Bitcoin on some account, maybe in some self-custody. They never even talked about Bitcoin in any capacity online, or maybe even like offline, not even. I know Bitcoiners that are offline completely not known for their Bitcoin, and they are online completely anonymous, and nobody knows their real name and that they have Bitcoin. Like that. Like for me, this is most Bitcoiners. They are not on Twitter. So saying that is basically scanning through Twitter and seeing the sentiment shift of Bitcoin, that's a horrible thing to do. There's also this like sentiment kind of scaling of Bitcoin. If it's like full fear or full greed, like I think you guys know what I mean. This is actually the fear and greed index. I will just quickly show it in case some might fear and greed index. Bitcoin, let's see it. There is a fear and greed index. Yeah, like this is what I mean. Share this tab. So like we are currently a crypto fear and greed index. There's, I think, also a Bitcoin one. I just found the crypto one now. Is now at 22. And so extreme fear was last month at like 18. Last week at like 25. This is kind of what he's talking about. Scanning through Twitter, scanning through like social medias, and then kind of saying, what is the sentiment? Is it now going up or down? Like, what is kind of the sentiment that we are currently having? Again, like this is not something that I would promote looking at. If you look at Bitcoin, what Bitcoin will do in the next 10, 20 years, and decide on basis of the fundamental long-term things, that's why you buy or sell, and not because like there's some fear and greed in hilarious for me, but also very entertaining in my opinion.
Just chum, throw some chum in the water, and the response I get is pretty informative. And then it's also going to be a reevaluation of the fundamentals, right? Of okay, where's price? Probably some time. And then, okay, is quantum getting closer, better, what have you? And again, I'm not smart enough to figure out whether it is or not. There's a quorum of people I'm watching this is their lives. I'm going to trust what they're having to say. But that's for me really more it. Like for me, it's for at least the next several months, it's negative. Again, if it crashed tomorrow to a level where it's okay.
And this is fair. Like I don't make predictions, especially not short term. And he's like, at least the several next month is negative. And this is also really interesting because he's saying he believes that the Fourier cycle is playing out. But at the same time, he says the next month is negative. When you combine those two, they just do not fit together. Because we have, as I showed you before already, a year-to-date negative. So the 2025 year, according to the Fourier cycle theory, was supposed to be an up year. And if the 2025 year was supposed to be an up year, and the Fourier cycle is playing out, this just does not fit together. Either 2025 is an like down year. Okay, either 2025 is an up year and the Fourier cycle might continue to play out in the future, or 2025 is a down year, which means the Fourier cycle is officially dead. And now we have minus 6% of this year. And if we continue the same price or negative to this price the next 2 weeks, the Fourier cycle would be officially dead. in my opinion. Obviously, there will be different opinions out there, but in my opinion, it's like 3 years up, 1 year down, 3 years up, 1 year down, and then it's like 2 years up, 1 year down. The cycle is broken. Like then the whole 4 year cycle talk is completely out of the window, because then at this point officially the 4 year cycle has been broken. And so like it's interesting for me to say like he believes it plays out, but at the same time it breaks down. It just does not really make sense for me. But yeah.
And revulsion, I could revisit that, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen that fast. Certainly not the way the last 3 cycles have gone. And I've lived through each of those. 13, I own Bitcoin. 17, I own.
Okay, now the next thing is not really like interesting in my opinion. Now I wanna speak to something that I think is the reason why people are losing their minds if Bitcoin is going down. And I found that today. And I wanted to share this with you guys. I found that there is something called loss aversion. It's from Kahneman and Tversky. I'm really bad with like speaking about names. The core finding in those things that I will show you guys later was that losses hurt 2 times more than the gain actually feels good. And so losing $10,000 feels much worse than actually gaining $10,000. When price crash, the emotional pain becomes unbearable. So the brain actually prioritizes stopping the pain, not maximizing future returns. That's why people cannot handle high volatility assets. They cannot handle Bitcoin. They cannot handle like other high volatility assets, like I think Tesla is a great example, or strategy. And so the results of that is people sell to stop emotional pain, not because it's rational. And I think this is a very important point. People in the market are acting the most of the time actually irrational and emotional, especially when you look at the short term. In the short term, what did Warren Buffett say? In the short term, the stock market is like a lottery. In the long term, it's like a weighing machine, something like that. I don't know the exact quote right now. But basically in the short term, you don't know what is going to happen because people act emotional and not rational. If everyone would act rational in Bitcoin, it would just slowly get up and never really come down, because like people don't sell, and the few people that sell because they need something, it would immediately be replaced by people that want to buy. So like obviously people are not rational with this. Now, when you come back and see what's actually going on in here, we have the loss aversion. This is basically the theory. We have a negative value and we have a positive value. And if we have a loss, it feels a lot more negative than actually the gain would feel, which is interesting for me, because I see a lot of people actually like, oh yeah, like we've gone up like 30%, and people are like, oh yeah, like okay, it's I guess it's nice, but they're not really happy about that. There's a really great picture then that I don't find here. But anyways, it's basically like losing $10 is like, oh shit, like I lost the $10, like, oh, I hate it. But at the same time, if you find $10 on the street, you're like, oh yeah, I guess it's good. Like I found $10. So like losing something feels more painful than actually gaining something, which I found really interesting as a finding for here. Now, there's also something called the myopic loss aversion. This is very true. I always say, like, people are too focused on the short-term price movements, and they do not focus on the long-term, on the long time horizon of Bitcoin. So they focus on like 3 months. What's going to happen? Are we going down or are we going up? They're focusing on like this really short-term things, and they are also checking the prices too often, and they are missing the bigger picture. What has been Bitcoin done the last 8 years? I'm always talking about 2 cycles you have to be in Bitcoin, 8 years. What has Bitcoin done 5 years? What has Bitcoin done 10 years? I mean, beyond that, it's hard to go because like Bitcoin is not that old. It's just like 16 years old now. So this is a really interesting one. If we look at that, myopic loss aversion, a human tendency to focus too much on the short-term performance of investments caused by receiving information too frequently. You have the Bitcoin price every single day, in every single second actually of the day on your phone. You can check it, you can refresh, you can check it, you can refresh, you can check it, you can refresh, and you do it all the time. I no longer do that. I did it in the first like 2 years of Bitcoin. I was like constantly, like every single day, probably like 3 times checking the Bitcoin price. At some point you learn the Bitcoin price is what the Bitcoin price is. And I do not change my strategy based on the Bitcoin price. If it goes down to 90K, to like 80K, or it goes down to 10K, I cannot change anything. I have my strategy in Bitcoin, and I will execute that strategy over the next 10, 20, 30, 50 years. And this is really like what I'm thinking of when I think about the myopic loss aversion. People are too focused on short-term information and are really focused on what's going on there. And so because, a human tendency to focus too much on the short-term performance of investments caused by receiving information too frequently, and then making one underinvest in riskier assets. Riskier does not mean riskier. Riskier means more volatile. So because of that human tendency to focus on the short term more than on the long term, people are actually focusing more on safer assets that are not as volatile in the short term. So that's why people are in the freaking US dollar and in the freaking euro and in the freaking, as we got it today, Schweizer Franken, because it's not as volatile. You do not lose 50% tomorrow. And so this means that people are underinvested in riskier assets, more volatile assets, not riskier, and losing out on potentially better long-term gains. That's the whole reason why people are focused on this like short-term versus long-term thinking. They are focused too much on the short-term, and they are like overloaded with all the information. A horrible thing, in my opinion. Now, there's more going on. There is the fight or flight response. We can see that here. The amygdala response to threat is saying, okay, either I fight or I go. And the fight response will be, now there's a threat. I'm going down in my Bitcoin holdings, and because I go down in my Bitcoin holdings, I will buy more. I'm DCAing, I'm researching more, I'm educating myself, I'm fighting, I'm here. The flight response is, I'm selling, I'm out. I don't trust it anymore. This was basically the Luke Roman response of like, there is something going on with quantum computing and the price is going down and the 4th year comes from the 4-year cycle and there's a threat coming to my Bitcoin holding. I'm out, I'm selling. That's basically what he did. And so that's like the flight response and not the fight response. So because of that fight or flight response, it hijacks decision making, and rational thinking is suppressed. The brain treats financial loss like physical danger. If you're losing financially, it almost feels like a physical threat to our life. And I can 100% attest to that. I will share 2 stories with you guys. When I first got into YouTube and decided to go full-time all into podcasting in 2024, I cried multiple nights. I was fearful multiple nights. I was so fearful of what's going to happen because I had, since 6 years before that, I had a really good, safe job. I had an amazing job, amazing colleagues, everything was good. I just didn't like IT security where I was in. And so I wanted to get into Bitcoin. But this meant to leave a high-paying, good job in the fiat world or in the IT security world and going into something new, going into something that means higher risk and uncertainty. And this felt really, really bad. Like I was panicked all the way till I made the jump. And it was really interesting. When I made the jump, I was also skydiving once. Not skydiving. I was jumping from a bridge with like the bungee jumping it's called. And for me, the jump from that bridge felt like the jump towards a more self-sustained life, because starting the podcast and going all in into this project. And before that, you see how down it goes. Like your body reacts. You're like, I should not jump down. It's like very unnatural to go down or like see down something. And so when I saw down and when I looked down, I was so fearful. I was like, I will not jump there. Like, how stupid I am. Why should I jump down on this bridge? I will probably crash down and like hit my head or like do something. It was in Greek. I was like, I'm not trusting those Greek guys. Like, I'm trusting that those Greek guys are doing everything right so I survive. And I had so much panic, so much fear, uncertainty, and doubts about this very thing going downhill. And because of that, I was like super shocked. I was like, oh, really, really this. And then I go to the edge of the bridge, and there's like a guy that kind of tells you what to do. And he's like, I will push you gently at 3. And he's like, 1, 2, and he pushes me before 3, because then like obviously I can't do anything. So otherwise people are grabbing onto you and all of that. And it was so interesting because at the moment where I jumped, at the moment where I was in the air, all fear, all uncertainty was completely gone. It was pure bliss. It was pure excitement. And this is the same thing that happened to me when I went all into YouTube, went all into podcasting, went all into Bitcoin. And now, as you guys know, I co-founded Microseed. I'm an entrepreneur in the space. I'm helping companies. Like, I'm very fixed in the space now. But this was not the beginning. The beginning of my journey was very frightening because I didn't have any securities in that. And so because of those lack of securities, it was very hard to get started. But at the moment where I was in the moment where I no longer had the choice of returning, I cut all my lines to the old world, pure bliss, and it was amazing ever since. And so I tell you this all to make a very long point on the fight or flight response, because people treat financial loss like physical danger. And that's why I said that. So people say, I'll just sell and think later. They no longer think emotionally. They no longer feel rational. They just say, like, I want to get out of that. Though the decision feels urgent, the long-term plans are abandoned. And actually, this threat of having the Bitcoin price go down is unfortunately a real thing. Now, there are positive voices going on in the Bitcoin world, like Roger Zoni. I want to share this also. When in doubt, zoom out. And he's very true, because Bitcoin is going a lot higher in the next decade. We have seen Bitcoin going up and up and up, basically. And this here, right here, the small dip that you're seeing on the right corner here, this is the dip everyone is worried about. Very true. Nobody needs to worry about this. And the only thing that's really happening, the OG whales are not here to sell. The OG whales are actually scooping the Bitcoin up. The Sailor is buying, the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Abu Dhabi, the Abu Dhabi Investment Council is buying, Texas is buying, like all the individuals, all the big nation states, the wealthy individuals, they're all buying. And so if you're selling, you're doing this. You are feeding the whales. You are not a whale that is selling. You are feeding the whale at this very moment. I truly believe that. Now, a whole new topic. Something completely else. I want to talk about that because I do think it's very important. There are people that fight for privacy. There are people that fight for having Bitcoin secure and private, and are fighting for Bitcoin to be as good as possible. And those people have been prosecuted. Those people have been followed by the nation states and have been under surveillance the whole time. And one of those people is Keone Rodriguez. I'm super sorry. I'm really bad with names. I should have learned how to pronounce him. But in the video, we see how he got pronounced, and he might now get a pardon of Donald Trump. Now, I want to show you the video first of the reporter asking Donald Trump about him, and then I want to get into the whole stuff, like what's actually going on and how likely this whole thing, in my opinion, is. I'm not an expert on American politics. I can just see all the puzzles in front of me and can show you what I am kind of seeing. Now, this is the video I was talking about, where the reporter here on the left side is asking here on the right side Donald Trump about Rodriguez.
A man named Keone Rodriguez is going to federal prison.
Keone Rodriguez. Now I know about it.
A man named Keone Rodriguez is going to federal prison for creating crypto privacy software. The case was started under the Biden administration, but your DOJ kept it going.
This is the first thing. A lot of people actually thought after Donald Trump came in that the whole thing is kind of going over and that the DOJ will no longer prosecute him, like no longer do the things that they now did. And unfortunately, this wasn't the case. He got sentenced to, I think, 5 years of prisons and $250,000 in a fine. And I think the co-founder William Hill was 4 years of prison. We will see this later in the article. I think 4 years in prisons, and I think the same fine. But yeah, let's continue with the video.
And secured the conviction. A lot of people in crypto are saying that this man should be pardoned. Are you familiar with the case at all, or would you be interested?
I've heard about it. I'll look at it. Why, you think he should be pardoned?
So it's already really good, I think, that Donald Trump already heard about it. It's something like he is saying, we heard about it, and this is already a huge sign, in my opinion, that he probably does it in the future. Because if you've never heard about it up until this point, it's like, okay, like he doesn't pay attention to that at all. That he already said, like, oh, I heard about it, is actually a really positive sign.
Sounds like it. Sounds like, based on your question.
Many people in the
Rodriguez, we'll look at that, Pam. Okay, let's.
So he will look into this. This is the whole thing that like actually happened. Now, the German guys under you will probably recognize that site. I love Block Trainer site. He really does great research. I just translated it into English. This is a great article to this whole thing. Trump considers pardoning Samurai founder Keone Rodriguez, and U.S. President Donald Trump was basically asked at that at press conference about him, and so we just saw that video. Now, what actually happened? On November 6th of this year, Rodriguez, CEO and co-developer of the Samurai Wallet, was sentenced to 5 years in prisons and fined $250,000. The reason: he operated an unlicensed money transfer service. Now, this is very, very, like, they never touched money. It was non-custodial as far as I know. And so it is very hard for me to see that they actually were doing that because they never had the money. Now, what they basically did with the Samurai wallet and the mixing and that was basically going on was privacy technology, where maybe some people will completely kill me for like how I describe that now, but I will make it very easy. You basically toss all the coins in one bowl and take the same amount that you put in again out, but in different coins. So you no longer know which coin is tied to which person. It's a privacy tool for Bitcoin, just like so we have a rough understanding what it actually was. Now, back to the article. So 237 million in illegal transactions are alleged to have been processed through the Samurai wallet. This news obviously caused outrage in the Bitcoin community because it was a non-custodial service. This means that the service never actually owned the customer's Bitcoin. So like Samurai wallet never really touched their Bitcoin. And therefore, according to many supporters, could not possibly bear any responsibility. Now, important also, here in the video, he only said about Rodriguez, but there's also co-developer William Hill, who were also arrested. I think he got only 4 years. And obviously, if Rodriguez gets the pardon, I'm very sure William Hill also gets a pardon, because like it would make no sense that only one of the guys gets a pardon. Now, will Trump show mercy? We saw already the Silk Road founder Ross Ulbricht get the mercy, the pardon. We saw CC. I just saw him in Abu Dhabi get the pardon. So I truly think that the pardoning for Rodriguez and for Hill is just a matter of time. I don't know when it will happen, probably not this year, but I think next year is a good chance that actually he goes ahead and pardons them, because just of the track record of President Donald Trump with Silk Road founder Ross Ulbricht and CC, the former CEO of Binance, who pledged guilty to violating money laundering regulations, they were also pardoned. So it seems questionable why such harsh measures were being taken in the Samurai case. If CC is now free and obviously also Ross Ulbricht, it just makes sense for me. So like there is the worst thing that could happen is if Trump completely ignores the topic, but he cannot really make any argument for not pardoning him. So I think this is a big thing. So I'm 100% obviously supporting this, but I do think it will actually happen. And yeah, like Rodriguez also said, your continued noise is working. Thank you to everyone pushing Donald Trump to pardon Bill and me. Let's get this over the line. 100%, this is a fight that we Bitcoiners have to fight, and we have to keep on fighting for, because this is a real problem. Now, let's see what you guys say. Yorkie said, Trump will deliver this pardon. I'm very much believing so too. If the US is serious about being the Bitcoin capital, he must, 100%. There's also something else in there, because there is some Ethereum thing also going on. I saw that in here, but I also really don't care about that. Oh yeah, here it was. It will also be interesting to see whether this would affect the handling of Roman Storm, founder of the non-custodial privacy service for Ethereum transaction, whose trial is still ongoing. Now, I'm not a fan of Ethereum, not so ever, obviously, but if it affects him, it should affect also him. So like, I don't know anything about that case. I literally only read it here, but I I would just guess from the information that I have right now that this would affect also him. So just like a thing that I see. Now, what else? What else do we have here today? We have one interesting small news that I saw today that kind of interested me. Back in the day, I too was a shitcoiner. I too was someone that had Ethereum and other small tokens. I had a gaming token, and that gaming token I had in something called the MetaMask. And the MetaMask was my main wallet for all the shitcoins I had. Now, the shitcoin phase, I now completely said like goodbye to, since around 2021, I think end of 2021, I completely trumped all my, no pun intended, trumped all my shitcoins. And so now we actually have this same wallet. That's why I saw it, because I remembered that I had that wallet in the past. This same wallet now has supported Bitcoin, now is supporting Bitcoin. So like Bitcoin has entered the chat. MetaMask now supports Bitcoin. Now, why is this relevant? Why do I even bring that up? I bring it up mostly because like I've seen it and I've seen it in the past that I use it. But MetaMask is a huge wallet. It is a massive wallet that has a lot of users. And it just shows for me personally that Bitcoin is the default thing everyone has to have. Even in the most degen crypto world, there is Bitcoin in there as well, because it's the primary reserve asset for the world, primary reserve asset of the world. So every app, every service has to have Bitcoin. They can have other things. They can have stocks. They can have real estate. They can have shit coins, in my opinions. They can have whatever they want, but they have to have Bitcoin to be relative, to be long-term relevant. So that was interesting for me to see. On other news that were even more interesting, in my opinion, that I saw, and it's an amazing, amazing small video that Wicked made here. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's not listen to the music. Wicked, he made this amazing chart that showed how Bitcoin merchants were developing. And you saw in the beginning, there were not a lot of countries. There was Spain, Malaysia, and slowly it increased. And now, till the end of the map, we see that many merchants already accepted Bitcoin. We are now seeing the full revolution when it comes to Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. Now, we see here the final frame. We have here the 14th of December 2025, total merchants, 24,000. Now, this is really only the beginning. We are nowhere near where mass adoption is coming in. But if someone ever tells you, oh yeah, like Bitcoin is not a medium of exchange, it's not a currency, 25,000 merchants are saying something different. On the whole world, 25,000 merchants. And then additionally on that, you have a lot of technologies that you can use, for example, a credit card that you can connect to your Lightning wallet and pay from your self-custodial Lightning wallet directly out to Bitcoin, from the Bitcoin to fiat at the time of the exchange when you buy the coffee from Lightning. Even if they only accept euros or dollars, or as we had it already, the Schweizer Franken. And so I think the medium exchange revolution in Bitcoin is highly overlooked and extremely underestimated. We have more medium exchange action and currency action that you actually see, because the price is something we see every day. But how fast the growth is of more merchants is hard to see. In the last 30 days, we got 2,000 more merchants than we had before. 2,000 more merchants. Fascinating stuff. Really cool to see. And so And this is just a normal evolution that we now have and now see that a lot of more merchants are coming into the Bitcoin game, and they want your Bitcoin. You should spend your Bitcoin with them, and you should try to make the Bitcoin ecosystem a better ecosystem. So with that, I loved our session today, man. Yorkie, all of you guys, one class that you were here today are curious, Bitcoin, Chuck and Jfig and Sandy, everyone that was here. Thank you so much for being here. I will do this, as I said, every single day on 5 p.m. Central European time or 11 a.m. Eastern time. I think Eastern time is like New York and stuff like that. This will be the home for Bitcoiners every single day, where we can hang out and chat together. As you know, I really build in the chat a lot. I try to like interact with all the comments, and really cool to have you guys here. I will introduce guests on this show also. So the guest format that I had before will come back on this channel, on this live stream quite soon in January. I will reintroduce that. And as always, guys, thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll be back tomorrow with another live stream episode. Bye-bye. This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice.